What is going on, everybody? Thank you very much for being here. Monday, April 21st, 7:59 a.m. I'm a little early today. Guys, I got to be honest with you, I'm a little excited. A little excited. We got a lot to get into on the show. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of NBA to get into. Yet a full weekend of playoff games. Yet an awful game for the Lakers on Saturday, so we're going to be critical about it. We got a lot to get into. Today is also, obviously I've kind of mentioned this as well. I have not had a cup of coffee in 50 days. 50 days. Lent ended yesterday. Technically, I could have had a coffee yesterday, but I did not have a cup of coffee. Why? Because I was like, let me get my first cup of Joe with my people. Now, I'm a little all over the place. I didn't even have my proper coffee cup or anything like that. I don't even have a mug, nothing. I'm just kind of I almost forgot how to make a cup of coffee using my coffee machine. So we got, I got some catching up to do. I got to figure out how this whole process works again. I've been on the tea side of things. I don't know what was going on. But let's get a cup of coffee right now. Just brewed myself a nice cup. It smells amazing. So I'm ready to go here on the cup of coffee. So let's get this thing started. 50 days. 50 days, no cup of coffee. I'm a coffee guy. Do it old school too. You know what I mean? No extra bells and whistles. None of this stuff. Now I do got a little milk in here. I like putting a little milk in my coffee. Let's get this thing going. Yes. Yes. Oh, this is amazing. Oh, this is incredible. Spilled a little. We got a little spillage here. Got a little spillage. I'm not on my game. I'm telling you guys right now, I'm not on my coffee game. I used to have a coffee game before. Now I'm all over the place. All right, first sip of coffee in 50 days. Wanted to enjoy it with you guys. I could have done it yesterday. I went to a donut shop in the morning yesterday. You don't think I wanted a cup of coffee with donuts? By the way, what happened to donuts? Why are they so overpriced? Why are they so overpriced? What the hell's going on with donuts? I'm going to complain about that a little bit later in the show. First sip of coffee in 50 days. Cheers to all you guys. Hope you guys are enjoying your cup of coffee, tea, whatever it is. Oh, God, I miss. Oh, man. Oh. Oh, it's been a while. Oh, that's amazing. That's delicious right there. Oh, the coffee. Oh, that's phenomenal right there. Cheers to all of you guys enjoying whatever you're drinking this morning. But, oh, that feels good. 50 days, no coffee. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that again. I think I can do it again. I just don't think I want to do it again. That's a delicious cup of coffee. I'm going to put my coffee pot back because I want it to stay warm because, I'm going to be drinking this thing all day. Oh, amazing. Just an amazing cup of Joe. Just an amazing cup of Joe. I'm back. 50 days. I didn't know what the hell I was doing for the last 50 days. All right, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to leave this right here. I'm going to sip it during the entire show. We got a packed show today. Packed show. Today, sometimes I'm like, guys, I got to leave right at 9. I got to get out of here. I don't got to go anywhere. So we'll do the show as long as we got to do it for today. We got a lot to get into. Got a guest on the show as well. It's going to come on a little bit later. We'll get into that in just a second. Let me give everyone a quick quote that I want to read off. Have yet to look at the comments. So, by the way, spilled everywhere. This chair is white. 100% this black coffee now is on this chair. Nice job, Slee. Way to go, buddy. All right, a couple quotes here. I got two that I want to read this morning. Don't live the same year 75 times and call it a life. One more that I want to read because I like it. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. So a couple of phenomenal quotes there. Let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got for the show today. Like I mentioned, packed show, got a lot going on, a lot to talk about. So let's let me just give everyone a quick idea. I'll look at some of the comments and we'll get the show started. Lakers lose game 1 on Saturday night. Was there at Crypto.com Arena. Did a little pregame show action. I kind of like doing that. Might have to let me figure out here in the playoffs. Might have to try to mix that in here before every game. Lakers lose. We'll talk about why they lost. We'll talk about, I think one area for me was most frustrating in the loss, and the thing that was most frustrating, they got punked. They got pushed around. This wasn't a schematic thing. You got pushed around. One team put their elbow right in your chin, and you didn't do anything about it. We'll get into that. Wolves looked solid. Give Minnesota a ton of credit. One thing that I'm not going to do tonight, or I'm not going to do in today's show, is I'm not going to take anything away from Minnesota. I guess I will question if they could do what they did on Saturday 3 more times. But I also think there's a crazy overreaction to Lakers losing one game. And it's like, that's it. Series is over. Lakers are screwed. It's like, everybody relax for a quick second. Calm down. Have a sip of coffee. Just have a cup of coffee and relax for a quick second. We'll talk about the overreaction after one loss and really, really expect a bounce back game for the Lakers tomorrow. Some people are already calling it must win. I get it. I understand. You go down 0-2 at home, the chances of you winning that series is obviously very, very, very small. But the Lakers just got to go out and handle business. We'll get into all that. We'll talk about what game 2 needs to look like for the Lakers. Pelinka got an extension. I didn't get a chance to do my show on Friday. Took the day off on Friday. Had a chance to just kind of get away from everything. I like to call it a mental health day. Got a chance to get away from everything and find out later Pelinka gets the extension. And I didn't get a chance to react to it. I want to react a little bit to it. I think there's some, I'm curious to hear from Laker fans of how comfortable are you that's it. Keys are now in Rob Pelinka's hands and it ain't going anywhere for, an extended period of time. So we'll get into that a little bit. We'll look at the rest of the Western Conference, which there were some really good NBA games this weekend and then just some really bad NBA games. I'm going to probably focus just more on the West just because there's more significance to the Lakers in regards to that. I'll mention the Eastern Conference, but I'll do that more in the weekend recap. And then Dave McMenamin is going to join the show at 8:45. So looking forward to have Dave on. Who knows by that point? I might be 3 cups of coffee in. Nobody knows at this stage. But Dave's going to join the show, and we'll keep things rolling from there. So thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. If you can do me a favor, let's try to get to 32,000 subscribers. We're at 31 and a half. If we can get to 32,000 subscribers, would be phenomenal. If you've been hanging out on the show or you like what I'm doing, just subscribe to the channel. That's all I'm asking for. And if you want to be a member, you also have an opportunity to do that. $3 a month to be a member. I owe members 2 shows this week because I wasn't able to do a show on Friday. So I'll figure out when I'm going to do it, but I'll do 2 members, MVP members only shows this week to make sure that I'm accommodating to my people. So shout out to everybody there. Thank you for being a part of the show. Let's get a couple comments in, get the show started, and we'll keep things moving along. All right, let me go all the way back to the beginning here because, lots going on here. Let's see what we got here. No bigs, no defense. Podcaster coach. Star player is fat. Second star is 40. Carl, good morning to you as well, man. I hope you had a great weekend. When I'm feeling down, I go to Carl. Carl is my motivational quotes that I get every single morning. First thing I do when I wake up is say, where's Carl? I want to hear from Carl. Let me get some more in here. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Morning from Brazil, Slee. Gustavo, thank you for being a part of the show. I appreciate you. Happy Monday, Team Slee. Fadi knows what's going on. Fadi knows what's going on. Sliwa about to inject coffee into his veins. You're not lying there. I already feel it, by the way. Already feel it. Look, this makes me feel great about the show. I love how everybody, they know the kind of the inside joke. They know that I haven't had a cup of coffee in a while. They knew that I was waiting here and I was getting ready to have a cup of Joe this morning. Oh, end of the show. I'm going to rip into some of these donut shops. I'm going after the donut shops at the end of the show. Maybe I'm going after the consumers who are paying $38 for a donut. What happened to donuts? In a little bit. I'll get into that. I'm going to wait on that one. I'm going to actually star that one. I'm going to make sure I come back to it. All right, let's see what we got here. Well-deserved, Slee. You waited long. I waited long, guys. I waited long. Don't be sorry. Be better. All right? Like that. There's a quote of the day. Defense wins championship. I think I've heard that before. Was that Nico Harrison? All right, let's get the show started. I know we got a lot to get into here, so I want to make sure that that I'm flowing here. All right, so Lakers take an L, lose on Saturday night. Got to be honest with everybody. Man, kind of threw me off. Wasn't expecting that on Saturday. And there were a lot of things I wasn't expecting that I think happened on Saturday. But I was just very surprised of how the Lakers looked. Very, very surprised. The way they came out, I just was expecting something completely different than the product that we were served on Saturday. It's like everyone's hyping this phenomenal restaurant. Everybody's like, hey, you got to go to this restaurant. I've been to it 5-6 times. It's great. The service is phenomenal. The food is phenomenal. You will not be disappointed. You got to go to this restaurant. I get to the restaurant. I'm waiting around for somebody to seat me. The service is awful. They finally bring the food out. My food is cold. I don't know what is going on. I'm watching the game on Saturday. I'm like, the hell happened to the Lakers team that I thought that I was going to be watching in game one of the playoffs? Someone like myself who's hyping up these games all the time. Obviously, Luka's first playoff game. What were we saying? We were saying it was the first Lakers were hosting a first-round playoff game at home since 2012. Obviously, 2020, Lakers were in Orlando. They were in the bubble, so they didn't get a chance to host. But you're putting all these pieces together. And I'm walking into that place. Even the start of the game, the way the Lakers started, Luka comes out, kind of firing on all cylinders, finding other players. Rui's hitting threes. Lakers go up maybe 7 points, something like that. It might have been a little bit more, but I remember specifically there was a stage of the game where it was 28-21, and Lakers just looked like, all right, they're in control of this game, and they're going to handle business. I know it's early in the game, but you like the way the game was starting. Second quarter starts. Lakers get outscored 26-6 in the first, I don't know how many minutes of the second quarter. I mean, I'm looking around, and by the time I went down to the media room, I grabbed a cup of tea or whatever the heck I got, and I'm working my way back. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? What the hell happened to this game? Anything that you expected, I didn't expect it. And if people want to put their predictions and say, I knew this was going to happen. All right, you're Nostradamus. I'm not. I didn't see that coming on Monday. I really, really didn't. Very, very surprised how bad the Lakers looked. Thought there would be great energy. That wasn't the case. Thought the stars would shine. That wasn't the case. Thought the Lakers would try to send a message. That wasn't the case. Instead, the Lakers just got punked. I mean, if I could simplify this here, we've all watched sports before, or you can figure out what the best analogy is. But if this was a boxing match and the Lakers just, they came out, kind of came from their corner, feeling good, jumping all over the place, couple of combos here and there, and then they took one to the chin, and you kind of looking into their eyes, and it's like, are they already defeated? Yes. Lakers took one good punch from the Minnesota Timberwolves in the chin, and they basically went back to their corner and was like, I don't know about this one. I didn't know he could punch like that. All right, but are you going to do anything about it? I'm not sure. I mean, I was kind of shocked with, obviously how things happen. The actual game part of it. Where was LeBron? Where was Austin Reeves? Where was the Lakers bench? If you go look at Dorian Finney-Smith and go look at Gabe Vincent, those are the two guys that I would say from an offensive perspective you think are going to contribute. Where the hell were they? Vando, I thought did everything he could from a defensive perspective, trying to give energy to the team. I didn't think anybody else showed up. Luka had one assist, and it ain't on Luka. Trust me, it's not. 30-plus points for him. He's going to need a lot more help. But one assist from Luka, 4 assists total between Luka and LeBron, 4 between those two players. You're expecting 16 assists from those two guys. How much was that on, other players not doing their job? How much of that was on Those two just not looking for other guys. I don't have an answer for you. Where was the Lakers defense? Every shot it felt like Naz Reid took, there was enough space in between him for Naz Reid to have a cup of coffee before he took a shot. Where was JJ with his adjustments? So just a really bad game. And it's okay to point it out. Like, I think that's part of the thing that, obviously I'm sure you guys want to react to. You guys want me to be just kind of have my honest opinion, my assessment of the game. Just was surprised that was the effort that the Lakers gave up, and was surprised that was the result of game one at Crypto in front of a crowd that was ready to explode and had nothing to really explode about. I mean, there was kind of a funny moment. Lakers, I think, got it down to 12, and the crowd was going crazy. I'm like, they're down 12, and this is what the crowd's got to cheer about. This is the best that they got, other than what, obviously was happening in the first quarter. So really just overall, really disappointing performance from the Lakers. Was really surprised that that's the effort that the Lakers gave out in a playoff game. And there's a couple of quotes that I want to play, or that I want to read off to you guys. And there's something from JJ Redick that I want to read off as well, or I'm going to actually play some video on JJ in the post game. For me, it just kind of tells a little bit about how the Lakers, when I say they got punked, when I say they got pushed around, when I use those terms as examples, you guys will obviously know what I'm talking about. But listen to JJ. And when I was doing the post-game show, that was kind of one of the first things that came to my mind. It was like, damn, this is the opinion of the team. Let me set this up here to make sure that we have it, so you guys can take a look at it as well. So here's JJ after the game. Hated this. JJ was right. He was telling the truth. I just hated that this was the case for the Lakers, that, when I say Lakers got punked, that's kind of what I'm referring to. Take a listen to JJ talking about just Lakers physically weren't there.
They're one of the best teams in basketball. There's, I think, it's not to say our guys weren't like ready to withstand like a playoff level basketball game. We were mentally ready. I thought our spirit was right. I thought even when they made runs, our huddles were great. The communication was great. I'm not sure physically we were ready, if that makes sense. And really, when they started playing with a lot of thrust and physicality, like, we just didn't respond immediately to that. And then that stretch from the start of the second through, 4 or 5 minutes to go in the third, we lost that stretch by 34. So, that's a blowout.
All right, stop right there. That's the part, I didn't think we were ready physically. Physically, the Lakers weren't ready. I think, I feel like I got a good idea of the makeup of this team. And I think a lot of reasons why, we have enjoyed watching this team play. I never really questioned the effort from the Lakers. Okay, maybe you might look at a couple of times. You might say, all right, they could be a little bit better here, a little bit better there. But for the most part, I'm not really walking away from the game. It's like, hey, the Lakers just got pushed around, or another team was more physical, or the Lakers can't match the physicality. That surprised me. It really did. Lebron had a quote after the game on the physicality. By the way, the world's not going to end, and I'm going to tell everybody why it won't. But here's what he said. LeBron, after the game: maybe it took us one playoff game to now get a feel for it and know what type of intensity, the type of physicality is going to be brought to the game. But that's just the way they play. So we should be more than prepared for that on Tuesday night. Damn, you guys weren't prepared to be physical against Minnesota? How's that possible? I saw a quote here from Magic, and I know, listen, sometimes when Magic tweets out, a lot of people have their thoughts and opinions on when Magic tweets out. Tell me what Magic's wrong on this one. Tonight was one of the Lakers' worst performances this season. They were flat, had no energy, and they played like it was a regular season game. And then he said, Coach JJ Redick did a great job all season, but he didn't do a good job for game one. The Lakers stood around on offense, played too much one-on-one basketball, and he didn't make any necessary adjustments. So I'll put a bow on game one. The only other thing I want to talk about on game one is I'm going to give Minnesota some credit, and then we could, kind of start turning the page. But um, I think that kind of says it all, right? The physicality part, the JJ kind of calling out the team from a physical perspective. I thought Vando had some quotes where he had said something towards the end of the game or after the game where in the fourth quarter he felt like the Lakers were more physical. They didn't do it for the first three quarters. And then I think Magic obviously pointing out what he just did. You want to call it a feel-out game for game one, that's fine. But I think for me, if shots just don't fall, I think the Lakers committed 10 total fouls. 10 total fouls. You know what that tells me? One squad is playing Olay defense, or it just they're not trying to get into the chin of the other team. And, the other team, obviously Minnesota had a completely different style of basketball, and they were great on both sides of the floor, offensively and defensively. Okay. I want to talk about the Wolves, and I also want to tell everyone to calm down because I think a lot of people, at least the initial reaction I was seeing on Saturday was like, it's over, it's doing this, that. Everybody relax here for a second. But let me get some of your comments. Let me read a few of the comments, and then we'll spend a little bit of time talking about what happens from here, why I think the Lakers will still be okay. And, like I mentioned, I want to give some credit to the Minnesota Timberwolves because I thought they played some phenomenal ball as well. Lakers rested again. Did that rest hurt them? I saw a lot of people in the postgame show saying that they thought maybe the rest that the Lakers got was too much rest. I don't know, man. It's so funny when you talk about rest. It's like all anybody's mentioning for the last, at least I was, right? Hey, just beat Houston and take care of Dallas, and you could do that, and you lock up that number 3 seed, then everyone could rest. Lakers get all that rest off, and then the moment they lose to Minnesota, it's like, it's too much rest. I don't know what the balance is. I'd rather the Lakers have some rest and make sure that their guys are healthy and ready to go for the postseason than, the past couple of years. You look at Golden State as an example. They end up having to make the play-in tournament. They win the play-in tournament. They get a few days off. They play yesterday. They blow out Houston. Houston hasn't really played anybody in a week and a half. OKC hasn't had anything to play for in a while. Maybe there's some benefit. Maybe there's not. I don't know what the perfect number is of how many days that you want off. But I was not one that was complaining about the Lakers' rest. I thought they needed the rest. And maybe yesterday was an example of they got too much rest. But I don't know. So did Minnesota. How about you just play more physical? All right, let's see what else we got here. I'm going to go to some of the more later comments here so that we can get a few more. So do you think Timberwolves are just a better team? I'm gonna highlight that one, and I'm gonna come back to that because no, I don't think that's the case. Didn't the Wolves shock Denver last season? They did. Give Minnesota a lot of credit, but it's not the same squad. It's not the same team. They did. I think they beat them in 7 games. And then remember they beat Phoenix in the first round, so they took out KD and the Phoenix Suns. They took out, obviously, they took out Nikola Jokic in, I thought it was a road game too in Game 7. So, but the squad's not the same. I think it's hard to make some comparisons between last year's Timberwolves team to this year's. Karl Anthony Towns was a big piece, and he's not there anymore. And then, now obviously you have you got Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, and there's some other players that are a part of this team right now too. So I think it's a little bit different. I appreciate the super brother. Thank you for throwing that in. I'm gonna go back to Alicia's comment here, and then I want to talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves here for a quick second, and then how the sky's not falling with the Lakers. That they'll be fine. You think the Timberwolves are just the better team? I think it's really, really difficult to make a case after one game of who's the better team in this series. I think Minnesota played exactly how they had to play. Let me give you guys an example. If you guys remember last week, and last week I was learning a lot more about Minnesota as well. I'm not watching the Timberwolves every single night. Had a couple of guests on that watch the Minnesota Timberwolves every single game, or Alan Horton, who does the radio play-by-play, does the radio for them. Had a great conversation with him right before the game as well. But here's what I learned about Minnesota, and this was the point that I was trying to make going into game one. If this becomes hero ball with Anthony Edwards, this is a rout. The series isn't going to be much. No, there isn't one player that can just take on a squad by himself. Look at Giannis. They lose by 20 against the Indiana Pacers. Giannis, as great as he is, you're not winning a series unless you got Dame and you got help. And Kuzma had zeros across the board. I think we all saw that on X yesterday or the day before. I'll give you another example. I've been saying this about Denver. If Jamal Murray's not healthy, as great as Nikola Jokic is, they're just not. You just can't get through a playoff round. Maybe you get through one round if it's a very, very favorable matchup. Anthony Edwards is not beating the Lakers by himself. Where I want to give Minnesota a lot of credit, and this is the only way that I think they beat the Lakers 4 times, or they replicate what they did in that last matchup on Saturday. Guys, you got to have 4 or 5 guys that are contributing. Ant didn't even really have a good game. I think it was 8 of 22 from the field. That's not a good game. Now, he had 9 assists. I think that's where, and I'm not telling you that Anthony Edwards is Steve Nash or he's Mike Conley, which is like a natural point guard that's distributing the ball. That's not his game. Ant is I'm going to go get mine. I'm a scorer. That's kind of that's in his DNA. But if you think that Anthony Edwards is going to get through a playoff round at age 23 and he doesn't need Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid and Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, you got to have 4 or 5 guys minimum that are all contributing in order for Minnesota to win. Give Minnesota credit. But just to give everyone an idea, Jaden McDaniels is not going 9 of 11 from the field probably for another year. That's not going to happen. You're just not going to shoot that high of a clip. Was he 9 of 11? I think he was 9 of 11. That's not going to happen every single game. Naz Reid, God bless him because he's always killed the Lakers, was phenomenal against the Lakers. Lakers will make some adjustments. How about this? How about you make Naz Reid put the ball on the floor and not hit or not shoot threes most of the time uncontested? Why don't we be a little bit smarter on the defensive side with Naz Reid? Make the man take the ball to the basket and not get into this rhythm shooting, which he absolutely loves from the three-point line. I want to give Minnesota a ton. They shot 50% from 3. Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels played like Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan in the 96 finals, right? They were phenomenal. And it's not that I don't think that the Minnesota Timberwolves can have that type of performance again. I just hesitate that that's going to happen 4 times. Now, listen, maybe this is all on the Lakers. Maybe for Minnesota, I was listening to, I think it's called Score North, SKOR North is the podcast, and it's a Timberwolves podcast. And there's 3 guys that were on there, and I was listening to it yesterday. And, some of the points that they were making, first off, the points they were making were, look at all these people who are experts. All of them pick the Lakers. Everyone's picking the Lakers. I pick Lakers in 6. I'll stand by that. We'll see what happens the rest of the series. But they were, spending a lot of time talking about, I don't understand why nobody's even given Minnesota credit. This is who the Timberwolves are. And they went into a couple of points that I thought were interesting. They said that Julius Randle, who had a bad game, had 7 turnovers. Statistically, his numbers looked okay, but he wasn't efficient from the field, and he had 7 turnovers. They said Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards didn't play well, and they still blew out the Los Angeles Lakers. All right, that part's concerning, right? If those 2 players didn't have good games, these are guys that are watching the Minnesota Timberwolves every single night. If they didn't have good games and Lakers still lost by 20 plus, but as much as I want to give Minnesota credit because they deserve it, I don't think Jaden McDaniels is going to have the same type of game that he had. And I think the Lakers they're a much better team than what they showed on Saturday night. We could be sitting here 48 hours from now, and I'm doing my show on Wednesday, and Lakers finish game 2, and maybe they're down 0-2. And maybe, my confidence in the Lakers just starts plummeting, and maybe the squad isn't nearly as good. But I don't think the bench is going to be as awful as they were. I don't think LeBron's going to be as bad as he was. I don't think Austin Reeves, who was a complete non-factor in this game, I don't think he's going to be as bad as he was as well. And I don't think the Lakers are going to get punked again. That's my expectation. Could they very well get punked again and everything that I'm predicting is way off? Sure, that can happen. That, of course, can happen. But I just have a difficult time watching the Lakers play over these last couple of months. That was just an awful representation of what the Lakers have been and how they got the number 3 seed. So I do feel like there will be a bounce back game tomorrow. I do feel like there's a lot of pressure on the Lakers. And I think in a weird way, they're better off with pressure than with no pressure. LeBron didn't look concerned. Luka didn't look concerned. JJ didn't look concerned. Nobody looked concerned. Lakers look like they took a haymaker to the chin and they got to get back up and figure it out. I'm not trying to take any credit away from Minnesota because I think they truly, genuinely deserve all the credit. I thought Chris Finch was phenomenal in saying, "Go Bear." I don't know how much you can help us in this series. And there, listen, Gobert still finds ways. Lakers get to the basket if Gobert's there. You got this 7-footer that you're trying to shoot over. Obviously, he has a great understanding of the defensive side of the ball. But he also went away from Gobert and was like, yeah, I'm going to go with Naz Reid, which I think that is their best lineup, is when they go smaller, they could switch everything. They got a lot of athletic guys, and I think that had a lot to do with it as well. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments. So, Alicia, I hope that answers that question. Anthony, thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Little 5 spot there, right there. Very nice of you to do so. Let's take a look at some of the comments. Lakers bench outscored by 30. It's pathetic. Minnesota's got depth. They have real depth. Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, and Nickeil Walker-Alexander are 3 really, really nice players. And all of them kind of offer something a little bit different. And all of them have different strengths. So I expect Lakers to get outscored by the bench. I expect Minnesota's bench to outscore the Lakers. That part is not a shocker. But when you have Dalton Knecht leading the Lakers bench with 5 points, and the only reason why he led the Lakers bench is because the Lakers were getting their asses kicked and they went to the bench, including Bronny and some of these other players, that's not a good sign. You know, Dorian Finney-Smith's got to get you 10 points. Gabe Vincent's got to get you 10 points. They got to be more impactful in the game, and they weren't. So that part, you know, I don't know how much that's going to change from the bench out. If Lakers bench outscores Minnesota, they're not losing that game. I think Minnesota will always probably outscore the Lakers bench, but you can't have just basically no-shows from the Lakers bench. Let's get a couple more in here. Pope Francis this morning, very sad news, passes away. So I appreciate you mentioning that. Yes, rest in peace. You're 100% right there. Keep going here. Let's see what we got here. All right. Rudy was meeting James at the rim. And can I say this too, as I take a sip of my cup of coffee? You guys know about coffee? I mean, people holding this back. I didn't know about coffee. It wasn't just Rudy Gobert. I thought Randall played. I thought he played LeBron straight up as well. I thought it was. I thought it was smart of Minnesota. You know, I don't know how strategic the plan was, but it worked. Luka, you want to go get 35? Go get 35. We're not going to let anybody else get involved. LeBron, you want to go one-on-one with some of these other guys? We're not going to bring a double team. You want to score off Julius Randle? Go score off of Julius Randle. I think the game plan of let's make sure that Luka and LeBron aren't getting everybody else involved. You know when the Lakers are going to be at their best? They're at their best if those guys are combining for 16 assists, 8 and 8, right? That's nothing crazy. Luka can get 8 assists in his sleep. LeBron can get 8 assists in his sleep. But that means Rui got buckets. That means DFS feels like he's involved. That means Gabe probably got some open looks. Means Austin Reeves is cooking. 4 assists between those 2 players. All right, let's get a couple more in here. And then we got other stuff to talk about. All right, advanced stats came out. Luka was at his usual average on passing. It was Bron and AR were way under their usual passing. Yeah, I mean, Luka can't dish the ball to Dorian Finney-Smith and then make the three for Dorian Finney-Smith, right? He's not going to get that assist unless that shot goes up. That obviously is part of the mix as well. So not all of it is on him. Where's the Vando haters? Why? I like Vando. To be honest with you, I was talking about this in the post game. My seat that I get when I'm at crypto, you kind of move around, just kind of depends on the game. But where I was, what was this section? I think 117, something like that. But I'm basically, if I'm looking at the court, every player that's coming off, I'm on the Lakers bench side. And you get to see a lot of their reactions, and you get to see, maybe things that you won't get to see if you're on a different angle or other side of the arena or something like that. I'll take Vando's energy over all these guys. Vando's energy, he was the only one that I felt like had any energy. All right, let's keep things moving here. I want to keep things moving here. We got a lot of different topics that we want to get into, and we got Dave McMenamin coming up here in about 10 minutes or so. We're going to have Dave McMenamin join the show. Okay. You guys know about one of our great partners on the show, Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Shout out to him. Somebody that's been with me for the last couple of months. I've known the guy for over 5-6 years or so. I want to play something here real quick. I'm going to do something a little bit different than I usually do. I want to play you guys a clip. I was at Brad Wallace. I was at his offices in Encino. What was it? A couple weeks ago or so now, and had him on the show. I want to play a clip because I did an interview with Brad when I first had him on the show. It was about a month ago. So March 19th was the date. And I want to tell you guys the end story here. And this has specifically something to do with a case that we are talking about. And I want to promote it here. Take a quick listen and a watch to this.
One of our specialties, because we handle serious injury and wrongful death cases, is taking cases to trial. If a case doesn't settle, the end game of the process is a jury trial. For example, we're starting trial next week on a case against Home Depot involving a man who suffered a catastrophic brain injury. If Home Depot doesn't do the right thing and settle with us, then we'll start picking a jury on Wednesday next week in Los Angeles County.
All right, important for me to kind of follow up on that. I want to play that real quick. So here's the ending of the story. Brad was talking about that about a month ago. Wallace firm is where you obviously need to go, and we've talked about this for serious injury or wrongful death cases. But here's what happened. This was a case Brad and his team have been handling against Home Depot for about 5 years. Home Depot didn't settle. Brad Wallace's team did exactly what they said they were going to do, took them to trial. And a few weeks back, following a 2-week trial, which included Brad's closing arguments at the Van Nuys Courthouse in Los Angeles County, the jury delivered a $4.6 million verdict on behalf of the Wallace firm's client and found that Home Depot was responsible for nearly $3 million of that amount, which was significantly more than Home Depot's highest pre-trial offer on the case. That says it all right there. I just want to share that because I think sometimes I could say, here's my relationship with Brad. Here's everything else. This is a real life example, everything that just went on in the last 30 days or so. And he was telling that story. So I wanted to go back and point that out. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Shout out to them taking care of their client. And if you're ever in a situation where you need help, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. You can also email me. I make a personal introduction or click on the link in my description. I have a link there to wallacewins.com/Sliwa. So shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm, and glad I was able to share that, and congratulations to them. All right, let's keep things moving here. It's a good show today. Sometimes you just feel it. You ever anybody out there played basketball in their life, right? Sometimes that jumper just is pure, right? You take that jumper and you're kind of like, yeah, that one's going in. You're already kind of starting to shuffle your way back on defense. Maybe it's the cup of Joe. Maybe it's been 50 days since I had a cup of coffee. Rob Pelinka got an extension. I want to spend a few minutes on this, and then probably by the time we're done with this, we'll get a chance to connect with Dave McMenamin, and then we'll do, talk a little bit about the playoffs and weekend recap here. Pelinka gets an extension. Let me read you guys the details here real quick. And I think once I do so, I want to propose a question to everybody and just kind of get people's thoughts on Rob, the extension, and everything else. A couple things happen here. I take a day off, and all of a sudden, Rob Pelinka gets a multi-year contract extension. By the way, they're also adding to his title President of Basketball Operations and General Manager. This was announced on Friday. I also made an announcement on Friday. I have now changed my title to this podcast. I am actually now the President of Basketball Operations and the General Manager of this podcast. So I just want you guys to know that as well. I did also ink myself a multi-year contract extension, which changes nothing for my pay, but it heightens my ego. And that's really the whole point of this. I want to inflate my ego as much as I can. So Pelinka gets a multi-year contract extension. Jeannie Buss, governor of the Lakers, for 8 seasons. I've relied on Rob's vision and leadership to do what's best for the Lakers organization. I value his partnership and his professionalism and believe in his ability to deliver championship caliber basketball for Los Angeles and Laker fans everywhere. All right. So let me give my quick initial thoughts on this. Not surprised. I think once Rob Pelinka figured out how to bring Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers, I'll kind of get into how much credit does he deserve, this, that. Guys, Luka's a Laker. So I'll tell you what Nico Harrison didn't do. He didn't call anybody else. Now, he might be an idiot for not doing that, but he didn't call anybody else. And his relationship with Rob Pelinka clearly helped make this deal happen. I'm not surprised that this happened. I think if you really look at Rob Pelinka and, you pay attention to some of the players that he's been able to bring to the Lakers, and you could have a little asterisk next to it, whatever you want to put there, but let me just simplify this for everybody. Since he's been part of the Lakers organization, Pelinka joined the Lakers 2017 as GM. So actually vice president of basketball, I think that was added back in the day. Anyways, so he's GM 2017. LeBron decides he wants to be a Los Angeles Laker. That's when Rob Pelinka's here. Lakers decide to trade for Anthony Davis. That's when Rob Pelinka's here. Lakers win a championship in 2020. That's when Rob Pelinka's here. And then in 2025, the Lakers trade on February 1st for Luka Doncic, goes down as one of the most shocking trades in NBA history. Rob Pelinka's here. For this Los Angeles Lakers organization, we know what the Lakers thirst for. Stars. They want superstars. Now, they want superstars that also lead to winning NBA championships. Of course, that's part of the foundation of what the Lakers are. And if you want to, LeBron was going to come here anyways. I don't care. Whoever's in charge, if LeBron came here, you didn't deter him from coming here. And are there other things, maybe the relationship with Rich Paul? And if you want to say, anyone could have traded for Anthony Davis because LeBron came here. Cool. I don't care. You gave up whatever assets that you gave up. You make Anthony Davis feel comfortable of wanting here and signing an extension here and all that stuff. You get credit for these kind of things. Well, you know what? Nico Harrison made the dumbest trade in the history of sports. I don't care. He made a trade with the Lakers, and Luka Doncic is here. So I'm not surprised that Rob Pelinka's here. I think the thing that, for me, is going to be most fun to watch moving forward with the Lakers. Right now, this is a very imperfect roster. And I think everybody knows that you're in this kind of weird transition. See how far LeBron and Luka can go together. But the reality is, this is going to be the first time where this is going to be Pelinka's fingerprints all over this Lakers roster with this kind of new chapter of Lakers basketball. LeBron's been here now. This is his 7th year with the Lakers. Probably back here next year as well for his 8th year with the Lakers. But this will be the first time, and I think this offseason, where the game plan's completely changed. You're not building around Anthony Davis. You obviously highly, highly value LeBron's opinion, but you also know that LeBron's not going to be here in 5 years, where the hope is Luka is going to be here for the next 5, 7, 10 years. Big deal that, Pelinka signed the extension. And the guy went from, what is he doing at the deadline? Why isn't he grabbing another big man for Anthony Davis? What is happening? All this stuff, however you want to describe it, to he's celeb now. Pelinka's walking around with his chest out, feeling great about himself, got that extension, and now moving forward, he's going to be known as one of the individuals that helped orchestrated one of the more shocking trades in NBA history. So he gets his extension, and we figure out what happens from here. All right, let me look at a couple of the comments here. I'll do this for a little bit. As soon as, obviously, as soon as Dave comes in here, then we'll keep things rolling here. All right, let me look here. Multitasker. 5 years, you'll want Luka's prime. I mean, it's not like the pressure is going to get any easier. The moment the Lakers got Luka, it's not like, all of a sudden people are like, hey, you know what? If Luka doesn't win, hey, it's okay. No, it's like, all right, well, I mean, think about how much complaining after just one loss in the playoffs, wherever the Lakers go this year, however long they go, you're going to be looking at the offseason. Okay, hey, now's your first offseason trying to build around Luka. Something that was mentioned, I was listening to that Timberwolves podcast, and one of the things they were saying was one of the reasons why they lost to Luka in Dallas last year, they said that team was so perfectly constructed around Luka that you didn't, I think what they were trying to say is that going up against Luka this year is going to be wildly different than it was last year because you had all the big guys that perfectly complemented Luka. You had Kyrie that was there as well. That was always also a very perfect complement. PJ Washington was a really nice player. The point that they were trying to make is that, obviously this roster was kind of put together last second, and what this roster looks like down the road will obviously look a lot different than what it looks like today. All right, let me look at some comments here. Let's see. Pelinka deserves credit for pulling a rabbit out of Nico's ace. Okay. All right. Slee equals Manu Ginobili's might be the greatest compliment I've ever got in my life. Might be the greatest compliment I've ever got in my life. All right, let's see what we got here. Good morning, Slee. Not being negative, but be lucky if we get one game this series. I don't know if that's being negative. I just think that's not assessing the situation the right way. You could say that. And if you feel that, I don't think you're being negative. I just think, guys, it's going to be a series. Nobody should think that the Lakers are not going to bounce back and make this a series. No one should think that. Literally, no one should think that this is the Lakers lost game one. That's it. They're screwed. It's going to be a series. I think what Minnesota did more than anything else, I think, I mentioned this. Somebody had asked me right before the game. I was doing a little pregame. Somebody asked me before the game, Slee, what do you think if Minnesota takes game one? I'm like, all right, well, then we got a real series. I think it makes the series that much more exciting. I think it adds a little bit of desperation to game two, and I don't think that's a bad thing. In a weird way, I think that the Lakers, I think they play better under some pressure, and we'll find out what happens in game two. All right, as promised, I think everybody's favorite part of the show is when I talk less and I have somebody else join me on the show. I want to welcome in Mr. Dave McMenamin himself. What's going on, Dave?
Hey, Alan, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. Everybody gets super excited when they're like, we get a break from Al. They feel good. They feel better about it.
I'm wearing this hat for a big-time Lakers fan, Mark Pacificar. He's one of the guitarists for Vertical Horizon. I went to one of their shows earlier during the Lakers season, and I hear someone yelling at my name from the stage, and he hooked me up with some gear. So I obviously, in my role, not a Lakers fan, but I am a fan of Lakers fans.
Okay.
So, maybe this gives some good juju for game two.
I like it. Okay, I got one before we get into the NBA playoffs and Lakers. Are you a coffee guy?
Oh, yeah. Big time. Got one right here.
Okay, Dave. I gave up coffee for Lent.
Oh, wow.
I went 50 days. This was my first cup of coffee about 49 minutes ago. Feel good.
Gotta hit like
Oh,
nothing else. Yeah.
You know, we don't have to get into the details, but you imagine whatever it is that, you know, maybe it's drinking or maybe it's this.
Yeah.
Actually, drinking is a good example. When you go like a long time without drinking, I can have 3 sips of beer and I'm like, yeah, I'm already hammered. I'm already trashed. This is kind of going on with the coffee thing.
I love it.
Well, first off, I appreciate you coming on the show. So thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Before I get to game one, can I just get your opinion here real quick? Pelinka gets the extension. We're talking about Pelinka's extension. Pelinka gets the extension on Friday, and I don't think it's a surprise or a shock or anything like that. I mean, obviously, right now Pelinka has got to feel unbelievable about landing Luka Doncic, but what is this next chapter for Pelinka? Just now that, you know, the AD chapter is over, LeBron still got great impact on this team, but we know that we assume LeBron's not there in 5 years from now, that you're going to start, you know, obviously building around Luka. What do you make of what happens with Rob and how they construct things down the road?
Yeah, I mean, the first chapter was ushering the team out of the Kobe Bryant era and getting it back to respectability. And I think many would say it took longer than Lakers fans would have anticipated or hoped for, but they got there. And you know, whether Rob deserves most of the credit for getting LeBron James to come, or Magic deserves some of it, or LeBron was going to choose it regardless of who was in the front office, doesn't matter. He gets some of the credit there. And a championship's a championship. Over an era, if you look back over the last, you know, 5-6 years since the Lakers won the championship, it's not like other teams are stacking up multiple championships. We are in the parity era. So to get one is significant, and he deserves credit for it. You land Luka Doncic, who's a 26-year-old international superstar that they can market. And you know, look at what their friends with the Dodgers are doing right now. The amount of ticket sales on a nightly basis from people coming from out of the country to see the Dodgers. I certainly think they view that could be something they can lean into more so, even more so with the Lakers at moving forward. And then you got to win, but certainly the competitive zeal that someone like Luka has, and you know, let's mention JJ Redick here too. Certainly the home run hire of JJ Redick. Those are two moves that Rob's fingerprints are all over. The relationship with Nico Harrison led to the Luka trade. Thinking outside the box in talent evaluation when it comes to coaching led to JJ Redick. Both of them are dynamite figureheads for this franchise moving forward. And you know, right now, listen, the Lakers view this postseason as kind of a wide open field. Yeah, there are favorites out there in OKC and Boston, but they're not juggernauts in the Lakers' estimation. And so let's try to get one here. If we don't get one here, we still have a ton of positive momentum going forward. And you know, Rob has bought himself some grace here, where it shouldn't be championship or complete abject failure.
Sure.
But there is the idea that the window is open right now. So, you know, you got to maximize it while it's open.
All right. Game one on Saturday. I think, you know, as there should be a lot of hype. It's Luka's first playoff game as a Laker, JJ Redick's first playoff game. Chris McGee was telling me, so Chris McGee mentioned this, I was like a month ago, 2 months ago, something like that, and it didn't dawn on me that Lakers were hosting their first playoff game in round one since 2012. I'm like, Chris, I don't think you have your facts straight. I go look it up. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? That's a trip. Of course, 2020 they would have hosted, but they're in Orlando. Just how surprised were you of the outcome of the game, the details of the game? I wasn't expecting it. I do get it. I understand there's a lot of Timberwolves, whether it be people who cover the team, saying that a lot of people are underestimating Minnesota. I just wasn't expecting that. How big of a shock was Saturday night to you?
When the scoreboard is showing the Lakers down by 27, that's shocking. Midway through the third quarter, where it was looking like a runaway victory, like I didn't anticipate that whatsoever. I certainly thought this would be a tough series, and it's going to continue to be a tough series for the Lakers. But that was so lopsided. It was like, wait, this isn't the team that we've been seeing
Yeah.
the last 6 weeks steadily show how much they belong in the contender conversation. When you step back from it a little bit, and talk to some people around the team, they had a terrible 6 minutes, the Lakers did, in game one. And of course, it's 48-minute game, so you can't just dismiss that and say, oh, well, what about the other 42 minutes? But that is how they are compartmentalizing the result of game one and moving forward, that, let's just play to our standard. If we play to our standard, it's a game. And when it's a game, we like our chances with the decision makers of LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and Austin Reeves in a possession by possession situation in the fourth quarter. So they got to get to there, right? And they never did. I know they cut it to 12 early on in the fourth, but expended a lot of energy to do so, and Minnesota was able to push it back up. I think one thing that we wondered, those of us covering the team, would maybe bite them in the butt at some point, was their 3-point defense strategy, where it's like, we're going to choose to let guys be open and dare them to shoot. When Jaden McDaniels goes free for three from three, it hurts you. And there was an inertia and an energy to all of the shooters. It felt like when you watch a baseball team all of a sudden get 10 runs in an inning, where it's like, all the bats were hot, all the shooters were hot. Think about, what was the best game the Lakers played this year, Alan? What would you say?
I think of Denver on the road. I think of the OKC game.
OKC. So OKC Lakers hit 23, shoot 50%
That's
from
right.
deep. That's what Minnesota did to them. Any team that does that is going to look like the best team in the league. And so odds are, even if Minnesota continues to shoot well in the series, they're not going to shoot that well. And that can, kind of lessen the gap here too.
It's funny. I listening to the post game, and it was your question. I thought it was a very interesting question. I know what you were trying to ask to Luka on the, hey, you go off and you do your thing, but because it feels like there's so much responsibility on his shoulders. Hey, not only go get the 35, but can you also make sure everybody else is flowing as well? What is, as you kind of look at Luka's first game, and I'm not, I don't think any of this from an assist perspective. I mean, him and LeBron, I think, had 4 assists total, which is that's like a stat that doesn't, aside from Luka, all these other guys kind of getting involved, getting their own, the ball moving. Just what did you think of the Lakers offense in general in that first game, and how much, not responsibility, but how much more can Luka do to also help out with whatever that flow looks like for some of these other guys?
Yeah. First, just a little context to the question I asked Luka. So, I understand when fans are disappointed by the result, emotions might come into play. It was a very by the book, straightforward question, is when you score that way, and obviously, I think he had 16 points in the first quarter or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
They have a 7-point lead. It was successful. I was not doubting it was successful. I was not doubting how great of a player Luka Doncic is. Can it affect game flow? Because quite frankly, my question was informed by having already been in the press conference with JJ Redick. When
He mentioned it with Reeves.
When JJ Redick was asked about Austin's performance, he said, well, part of it was he wasn't getting many touches because we were going with Luka, and that's great offense for us. But so, listen, there's no agenda here. The beauty of, I'm just glad that we can have this conversation. The beauty of playoffs and games matter this much is that we are still talking about the intricacies of it 2 days later, because you're playing out strategy. We're not going to Sacramento tomorrow to play a second night of a back-to-back, and we already forgot about the home game against the Grizzlies last night. Every single game matters. So as you start to pick apart what happened, it's not criticism; it's trying to understand, and it's trying to project what we could see moving forward. Now, Luka said, "I don't know how to answer that question." I was like, "Well, just does it affect game flow?" He says, "Okay, I could probably have more than one assist." It wasn't about taking responsibility for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just trying to map out the 48 minutes. There's such a drop off in the second and third quarter. Obviously, Luka wasn't as effective as he was in the second, third quarter. Some of that was other guys now needing to get involved. Some of that maybe he doesn't have the energy to hunt and pick guys. He was great. He picked up 4 fouls on Wolves players in the first quarter. 2 on Gobert, 1 on McDaniels, 1 on Edwards. Like, that is incredible, and that can pay dividends as the game goes on too. As guys get into foul trouble, you start playing against their bench players, etc. So the strategy, I wasn't doubting. The question is, though, are there ways to do it so that Austin Reeves doesn't look so, quite frankly, lost for most of the night when we've seen him be such a vital part of this team? Now, so maybe the answer is, really, Austin was just getting swallowed up by guys like McDaniels and Randall, who are much bigger and stronger than he is. Maybe that actually is the answer, because I thought some of the shots that Austin did go to when he did start to get touches were fadeaways that really had no business going in, end of the shot clock type stuff, because he couldn't get anything better. That is not just a Luka Doncic issue. That is certainly JJ Redick and the coaching staff recognizing that we got to get Austin the ball on the move. We had set some high screens for him, so he at least has that initial thrust, and then he can deal with the size inside. All those things are to be considered here. But listen, if Luka Doncic is going to be a scorer for this team, and at 37 points per game plus, that can be a way that helps this team. They're just going to have to find other ways for the other guys to get involved.
It's interesting because I think coming into the game, I thought, and I don't know, I don't want to make it sound like, okay, hey, Rudy Gobert's, because we hear this a lot, Gobert's going to get played off the court or anything like that. I think just the matchup with the Lakers, there's going to be times where Gobert is valuable, and there's going to be other times where not every team's got a Naz Reid kind of Julius Randle combination that they can go to. I'm curious to get your opinion from the Laker perspective. Size, rebounding, we've kind of heard this before. Hey, is that going to come back to eventually haunt them? They finish out the regular season doing a phenomenal job. They get the number 3 seed. How do you think, or what is kind of the lineup that you feel like combats what Minnesota did in game 1? I don't think they're going to shoot 50% from the field or from 3-point line and the field. I don't think Jaden McDaniels is going to go, I think it was 11 of 13, but there were some things that just kind of from a physicality perspective, clearly Minnesota, that was an advantage for them. Just how do you think the Lakers combat that?
I don't think you go completely away from Jackson Hayes. I understand why JJ did it and kept with it in the second half, because Jared Vanderbilt, quite frankly, was a bit of a revelation there in the second half of the third quarter. He changed up the energy of the game, but having Jackson on the floor, one, offensively, gives Luka a lob threat, which, even if he's not actually throwing that lob, it means it's attaching a big to him. So it's giving him a little bit more space to penetrate. Defensively, McDaniel said it himself. Like, I was free to go to the hoop because they had no one protecting the rim with Hayes out. So I don't think you go completely away from him. One matchup, quite frankly, I don't think worked in the Lakers' favor was LeBron versus Randall. Randall, talk about the physicality. I thought that was seen in the LeBron matchup as well. Now, LeBron certainly met the moment in the second half and was one of the main aggressors for the Lakers, but Randall got some stuff going early, and you just wonder if that's going to, maybe you move LeBron off that where you can to, because frankly, it's a bigger, younger, stronger guy, and you want to get some of LeBron's offense too. And it's okay for us to admit that LeBron at 40 might not have the energy for 40 minutes of a playoff game with a guy like that. So that's one area I think they could do themselves a favor. I just need to see Dorian Finney-Smith activated in some manner. He only took a couple shots, made 1 3. He defensively, quite frankly, didn't have the type of impact that we're accustomed to seeing. And, I don't think it's just necessarily like, he needs to light his pants on fire and go out there and wreak havoc. But there has to be a way for him to look like the guy that was a game changer for them versus what we saw in game one. And listen, also, like, they're going to have to find ways to generate more shots. So that means not turning the ball over as often, perhaps hitting the glass a little bit more, or at least keeping the Wolves off the glass, because the shot opportunity gap was pretty significant in game one. And like that, all that does is decrease your margin for error on the shots you do get.
Final one, brother, and I appreciate you taking the time. Looking forward to game 2 tomorrow. What should we expect? I mean, just kind of coming off of game 1, and I felt like the Lakers, you heard JJ, you heard LeBron say it, they just kind of physicality-wise, they were completely outplayed from that perspective. I feel almost more confident about the Lakers, the more desperate maybe the situation is. What are you expecting game 2?
Yeah, Slee, the beauty of, we have talked about the fact this is a 3-6 series. It's not really a 3-6 series because one team at 50 wins, the other team at 49. But home court advantage is still home court advantage. And they get to be back at Crypto on Tuesday night. The place is going to be nuts. The Lakers will be on high alert. JJ Redick's going to be bleary-eyed from barely sleeping because he's going to be tinkering with the schemes and whatever he can do strategy wise to get this team ready. Like they're going to play a better brand of basketball. Like, as I said, someone within the team told me we just didn't play up to our standard for 6 minutes in game 1. That's not going to happen in game 2. Like they'll be quicker to adjust to stuff because they will have the desperation staring them in the face. You fall down 0-2 to this team, you're probably saying goodnight to your season. So it's just the circumstances will warrant a better effort. And again, it wasn't like they laid down. Like, again, the Wolves hit 21 threes. Like, you're going to lose that game. You're going to lose that game. So they probably regress a little bit back to the mean. The Wolves do. And, I think the Lakers even this thing out, and we're in a battle all the way through the rest of the series.
Great stuff, brother. 2 things. Number 1, thank you for coming on. Number 2, how many cups of coffee do I have today? Because
oh man,
it's like you went to the bar and you got way too excited and you went for hard liquor. It's like, why don't you just have a beer and relax here since you haven't drank in this long?
If you go to the bar and have a night like that, like you're carried out by your buddies, you have a coffee day like that, you are beelining to the restroom all day long. So that's the thing you got to – the caffeine doesn't concern me as much as the digestive
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I think you may want to max it at 2.
The way you broke down the Lakers and then broke down my coffee intake, that's –
there we go.
That's excellent. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, man.
Yes, sir. All right.
All right. That's Dave McMenamin right there. Look at him breaking it down. I mean, you want that analysis? Great stuff. Great stuff from him coming on. Speaking of which, I got a pot of coffee. I mean, I told you guys I'm just going to go get a cup of coffee. I don't know what my intake's supposed to be. I got no idea. Let me get this back. All right, less spillage this time. I don't know what the coffee intake's supposed to be. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on this. But I know that it's been 50 days, so I'm going to enjoy my cups of coffee today. Great stuff from Dave McMenamin. Phenomenal breakdown. By the way, I loved, I don't know if you guys saw that question when he asked it to Luka about, like I mentioned, he asked to Luka the the balance. And I think Luka was taking it as if Dave was saying something along the lines of, hey, you didn't pass enough. Dave was just kind of referencing something that JJ Redick had said earlier. So I think probably Luka wasn't probably didn't just understand the question. I think he was taking it more as like a shot of not having more assists. But I thought Dave was asking a question that not a lot of people are going to ask. So great stuff from Dave McMenamin. I appreciate his time. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here. Still got to get into the rest of the playoffs, and I'm going to kind of merge together. I'm going to merge together here the weekend recap and the playoffs all together. All right, let's see what we got here. What did you learn from giving up coffee? All right, let me kind of give you guys something a little on this. You can 100% do it. If you think you can't do it, who was I telling you? I was telling one of my cousins. I saw some family for Easter, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to I gave up coffee. He's like, what do you mean gave up coffee? There were a lot of people that I told I was going to give up coffee, and everybody's like, it's not possible. No, I can't operate in the morning without a cup of coffee. If I can do it, and I'm freaking coming on here and trying to entertain for an hour plus, trust me that you can't do it, or you can do it as well. Slee ain't sleeping tonight. You might be right. You might be right. It's American coffee. It's almost water. Slee going crazy with the guy. I'm back. I'm supposed to go for a jog today. I'm going to sprint the entire time. All right, let's talk a little bit about the rest of the playoffs. I'm going to actually just put everything together here. We always do this. We do a weekend preview on Fridays. Then we do a weekend recap on Mondays. So let's do a quick recap here. We'll talk about, obviously all the different games. I want to spend a little time on the NBA playoffs. If you guys have anything that you guys want to do as far as questions, anything on the Lakers, just throw them in the comments. I'll do my best to try to get to it. So just keep that one in mind. All right, let's just talk. I want to talk about some of the other Western Conference games. By the way, tomorrow, Lakers game 2 against Minnesota. It's going to be at Crypto. It's a 7:00 tip-off. I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do. Let me give you guys the details of potentially doing another pre-game. I got to figure out yet. Not 100% sure if I'm going to the game yet or not. So I'm still kind of trying to figure all that out. But I'm probably going to do something again from a pre-perspective. Playoffs, weekend recap. Clippers at Denver. When I was doing the pregame, it was right during the Clippers and Denver game. Game 2, by the way, tonight between Clippers and the Denver Nuggets. Denver wins the game 112-110. They win in OT. Clippers give up a pretty sizable lead in that game and really just screwed up on a phenomenal opportunity to steal a game in Denver. I picked Denver in 7 in this series. I just think this is going to be a really good series all the way through. Jamal Murray's got to be healthy. I don't know how healthy he is. I know he played 48 minutes. So if you're playing 48 minutes, then I think Jamal Murray's going to be okay. Kind of ironic that it's Russell Westbrook that really had a couple of key plays, was awful from the field, 5 of 17, but 15 points, had a couple of steals, had the forced the turnover late in the game to kind of lock up that game for them. It's going to be interesting. You're watching a Denver team that's kind of hanging on to dear life. They fire their head coach. The Clippers trying to make a statement. They had won 8 games in a row going into the playoffs. I think it's going to be a phenomenal series, but Denver takes game 1. And if you're looking at scores or games for tonight, you got Clippers and the Nuggets at 7 p.m. tonight, something to keep in mind. All right, another game that I want to point out real quick. Yesterday, listen, I've been one of the guys hyping up the Houston Rockets. I'm like, hey, I like the way they play. I like their physicality. I like Ime Udoka. They pull Golden State in the first round. Golden State, in their first game on the road, get home court advantage like that. Obviously, the winner of this series will play the winner of the Lakers and the Timberwolves, so we're all keeping an eye on this. Golden State, 31 for Steph Curry last night, 25 for Jimmy Butler. I mean, the Jimmy Butler piece of this, literally just this is a piece that's so critical to them. Let me read you Jimmy Butler's stats from yesterday's game. Shoots over 50% from the field, 10 of 19. Plays 42 minutes for the Golden State Warriors. 25, 7, 6, and 5. What do you mean 7, 6, and 5? 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 steals for Jimmy Butler. Just a critical, crucial piece to that team. I was surprised yesterday. I'm still going to stay with my pick. I said Houston was going to win this series. I might look like a complete fool by the time this series is done. I'm just not going to change it. If I made the pick, I made the pick. But Rockets lose home court right away, and Golden State walks in there. Golden State gave up 85 points. I think Ime Udoka, I was listening to NBA Sirius XM this morning. They were playing some clips of some of the coaches, and Ime said that defensively we were great. We gave up 95, but can't score 85 and win a playoff game. What is this? The 2004 Pistons, where they used to score 87 points a game or whatever it was. Last game in the Western Conference I'm going to mention here real quick as part of the weekend recap. The Oklahoma City Thunder, thrilling game against Memphis. They just barely won 131 to 80. 131 to 80. They won by 51. I want to think 6th or 7th biggest blowout in the history of the NBA playoffs. Memphis got their asses kicked. What did Ja Morant said? Something to the effect of they're not going to play that bad again. They lost by 51. I know Memphis had a quick turnaround. They had to play Friday night against Dallas, and then here they were playing a 10 a.m. game on the West Coast against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So they had a quick turnaround. All right, give OKC the first game, but 51 got their asses completely handed to them here. New York and Detroit got a game coming up tonight. Detroit looked like they were in control of that game on Saturday. Knicks go on a 21-0 run, I think all in the fourth quarter. Maybe I'm off on that. And they take game one. Miami loses to Cleveland. Boston beats Orlando. So no real, shocks or surprising in some of those other games. Cleveland beat Miami. I think that was, I don't know if I mentioned that. So those were all the NBA games. And that was the first weekend of the playoffs. I thought it was great. I thought it was exciting. I thought there was a lot of good basketball played. I think there's some people that will complain about the NBA either way. I saw a lot of that. Nothing you could really do to it. But that is your weekend recap right there. And shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm again. If you or someone you know is in a serious situation, reach out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm to see how they can help you. For more information on how they can help you, go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. They are a partner here, of course, the weekend recap and the weekend preview. All right, I'm going to start looking at some of your comments here, and then we will call it a day. I'm going to bitch and complain for a quick second about the price of donuts. I'll do that in a second as well. Let's take a look at some of the comments. I don't watch many of the East playoffs. I'm with you. Not really much to watch. Yesterday, I was with some family, and you had the game on Orlando and Boston in the background. And it just doesn't really do much for me. Maybe if Dame comes back, the only good series is Indiana and Milwaukee. Indiana blew them out in the first game. Maybe Detroit can make it interesting against New York, but we'll see. Which is why I wanted Memphis in the first round. Yeah, everybody did. Everybody did. But you got the number 3 seed, right? Nothing you could do about it. Now there's no I think Golden State was not a favorable matchup, but I would take that. And you have home court. Go handle business. Lakers were not able to do that. Heat are stupid at trading Jimmy Butler to a good team. Man, how about that stat line from him? 25, 7, 6, and 5. The guy had 5 steals. My God. OKC blows out the Grizzlies by 50. It's how about sending a little bit of a message? Maybe just Memphis isn't that good. I mean, I don't know really what message that you want to send in regards to that. Nick T, can Luka and AR just play ball and stop the foul baiting? Honestly, probably not. I think that's part of their part of their game. And guys that foul bait, that's tough to all of a sudden just turn that off. I think Luka's going to be trying to draw fouls. I think AR is going to be trying to draw fouls. And then when they get to the free throw line, I think it's going to justify in their own mind why they do it and how they should do it. And they'll probably continue to do it. All right, let's see what else we got here. Lakers miraculously or aren't beating Cleveland or Boston if they miraculously get to the final. Man, the last thing I'm thinking about is the NBA Finals. They're down 1-0 in round one. Nick T, thank you for the super, brother. I appreciate you very much. Anybody that sent in a super, I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys supporting the channel and supporting the show and everything else. Just please subscribe to the channel if you guys don't mind. I went yesterday. I had a chance to go get coffee and a donut. And I was about to go grab. I mean, I knew I wasn't going to get coffee because I was going to have coffee with you guys. I go to a donut shop. Now, I'm going to tell you, it was a little bit bougie of a donut shop. I gave up sweets. Me and my girl gave up sweets for part of Lent as well. So I gave up coffee and sweets. So I'm like, all right, we'll go get some sweets. I'm not a really crazy sweets guy. What the hell happened to donuts? What happened? Guys, I don't even want to give you the pricing of what these donuts cost. Remember when donuts, you just go and get like an old-fashioned, just regular donut, and you paid 50 cents for them? By the way, they were phenomenal. They tasted amazing. Now, all of a sudden, they just changed the boxing on this stuff, couple nice logos, and they're charging, I'm not kidding, it's like $5 a donut. What are we doing here? What happened? Just completely crazy. Maybe somebody guessed already the place that we went to. Maybe. I mean, my God. What do you guys put in these donuts? There are gold chips in there? What are we doing? It's like people when I see them, which is actually pretty funny, and it's a very good point. A slice of pizza in New York City, where now they start charging, I don't know, $5-6 a slice, whatever the case is. You guys know, and you guys probably very familiar with it. I don't watch them as much, but I used to watch it all the time. The Dave Portnoy, when he does his pizza review, one bite, everybody knows the rules, whatever. And he always, I think, appreciates when a slice of pizza is a reasonable slice. And then when it's wild, he's like, well, you better have the best freaking slice of pizza out there if you're gonna charge this much. What happened to the donut game? Oh my gosh. 6 donuts. I was like, I'm gonna have to call my credit card company and just say, hey, just so you know, I got a really big purchase coming in. No, I didn't get, somebody didn't steal my credit card and charge X amount of dollars. My goodness. I had a donut without coffee, by the way. You know how hard that is? All right, my people. I appreciate, yep, here we go. I'm in New York City. In New York City, I'm from there. A slice could go from $1 to $8. What's a fair price? Can we go nothing more than $3 for a slice of pizza? Hey, it's a fair price right there. It's a fair price. For a donut, I'm willing to throw $2 for a donut. That's my limit. $2. I'm good after that. All right, my people, I appreciate you guys hanging out. We did $122 today. Phenomenal show. I really appreciate everybody hanging out for the entire show. Do me a favor. You guys want to support the channel? RJ, new pod, Sleaze Donut Takes. Yeah, I don't know how good that podcast would be. Moon Donuts were down cheap and good. Okay, hey. Now we're getting some. Now we're talking here. Do me a favor if you guys want to support the channel. Just subscribe to the channel. If you think somebody else would like it, share the video. Like the video would be phenomenal. I really appreciate that. Thank you for being a part of the show today. Shout out to Dave McMenamin for taking the time to join in the show. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Shout out to all you guys for being a part of the show as well. Game 2 tomorrow. Lakers taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Good NBA playoff games tonight. Looking forward to watching that. Back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And then you could look out for a preview video coming from Sammy here. Probably by tonight, there'll be a preview video. Thank you, everybody. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, a great Monday, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you, everybody.